Welcome to 6 Degrees of Wiki, a podcast where two sisters find the 6 degrees of separation between Wikipedia articles that don't seem to have anything in common. I'm Rosanna.
And I'm Nikki. Today we'll fall into a Wikipedia spiral where Rosanna has just 6 rounds to figure out how the first article could possibly be connected to the last, while learning all sorts of peculiar facts along the way. Let's get started. This month, we've gone from Leonardo da Vinci to polytheism. Round 1. Today, we're spiraling from polytheism to octopus.
Okay.
Polytheism is the belief in multiple gods. Octopus is a soft-bodied, 8-armed animal. Lives in the ocean. Rosanna, do you see anything that these two items have in common?
I feel like at some point we talked about some animal in some kind of religion that had 8 legs. Did we do that?
It was Odin. His horse has 8 legs.
There you go. That's the connection. Yep, that's it.
Polytheism is the worship or belief in multiple deities, usually in a group of gods and goddesses called a pantheon. They have their own religions and rituals. Now, with the exception of ancient Egyptian gods and Hindu deities, most of the polytheistic deities are considered as having physical bodies. They're usually anthropomorphized. They have personality traits in ways similar to humans' individual skills and needs and desires, also histories. Now, in modern times, most historical polytheistic religions are considered mythology. Not all of them, but most. Some current religions that are polytheistic are Chinese traditional religion, Hinduism, Japanese Shinto, and various neo-pagan faiths. One interesting fact, that is a sad fact, is that the term polytheist is used in some cases by Sunni Muslim groups, like ISIL, as a derogatory reference to Shiite Muslims. They consider that they've strayed from Islam's creed because they show reverence for historical figures like Imam Ali, which is not cool.
Oh, that's silly. It's not.
Round 2. Okay, Rosanna, what do you think the next degree is between polytheism and octopus?
I don't know, but I have a guess anyway.
Oh.
Egypt.
Okay. Your guess of Egypt is incorrect.
Oh, all right. Well, what is it then?
The next degree is goddess.
I always try to make it more complicated than it is. I know you as a person. That was all my own fault. I take full responsibility for my error.
As you should. Let's learn about goddesses. A goddess is a female deity. They've been linked with virtues like beauty, love, motherhood, fertility. Rosanna's covered the mother goddess before, but pretty broad categories.
Broad.
They've been associated with ideas like war, creation, and death. The article on goddesses is mostly just a list of them, so I pulled out my favorite examples. We have Greco-Roman goddess Hecate. She's the goddess of sorcery, crossroads, and magic.
Ooh.
She's usually represented as a triple goddess, the maiden, mother, and crone.
Ah.
And Iris is the goddess of rainbows.
Aww.
It's very nice. And in Aztec religion, we have Coatlicue, the goddess of earth, but it's earth as a womb and a grave.
Ooh.
Which is pretty cool.
That's an image, yeah.
Yeah, it's neat. In Chinese folk religion, there was the goddess weaver Xenu. She was the daughter of the celestial mother who wove the stars and light, called the Silver River, which we call the Milky Way galaxy.
Oh.
An interesting fact, the Germanic people had altars erected to mothers and matrons, different goddesses. They had celebrations specific to them. They called them Night of the Mothers or Mother's Night, which to me sounds like a suburban community event.
It's Mom's night out. Bring your book club books and your bottle of wine.
And your sacrifice.
Right, the book club books are to start the fire.
Oh, yeah,
obviously.
Of course. In Judaism, this is the coolest one to me. Lilith is the name of Adam's first wife, who was created at the same time as Adam. She left him, and when she refused to return to the Garden of Eden, she mated with Samael, an archangel.
That is new information to me.
Yeah, it was to me too. So she was then banished from Adam and God's presence when they discovered she was really a demon. You know, those female demons just sneaking in. And Eve became Adam's wife. So Lilith turned into the serpent that tricked Adam and Eve into eating the apple from the tree of knowledge.
Oh.
She was Earth's first scapegoat.
So she had her own consensual relationship with someone else, but that's not what she was supposed to do, so they turned her into the villain.
Mm-hmm. Sounds familiar.
When really, she was kind of just a spy, it sounds like.
How did God not know that she was a demon until then? I'm pretty sure he's in charge of that stuff.
Didn't he create her? That story needs a deep dive.
It really does. Round 3. Okay, Rosanna?
Yes.
What's the next degree between goddess and octopus?
So you mentioned a goddess called Iris?
I did.
Who is a goddess of rainbows?
Yes, so nice.
So rainbows, stay with me here,
Okay.
are the sun shining through rain.
Yeah.
Rain is made out of water.
Okay.
Octopuses live in water.
Wow.
So
Genius.
my genius. So my guess is the goddess Iris.
I like it. You're not going to go with rainbows, though?
Oh. No, I'm going with the goddess.
Okay. All right. That's not what I thought you were going to do, but all right. Your guess of Iris, the goddess of rainbows, as lovely as she is incorrect.
Oh. I mean, there was a lot to choose from there.
There really was. The next degree is death. Like the Grim Reaper. It's the personification of death.
Oh, okay.
So death is often imagined as a personified force.
Sure.
Like the Grim Reaper. In some mythologies, the Grim Reaper actually causes the victim's death by coming to collect them. And so people try to bribe or trick death to avoid his visit. In other beliefs, the Grim Reaper is just a psychopomp, which is somebody who will sever the last ties between the soul and the body and guide them to the afterlife.
Right.
So they don't have any control over how or when the victim dies. A lot of Grim Reapers are portrayed in ways that make them seem dead, like as skeletons or without flesh, which is unpleasant.
And gross, yep.
And in some cultures, they're equated with demons or Satan. So similar to the goddess article, there were just a lot of examples of different cultures, versions of the Grim Reaper. So I picked out my favorites. In the ancient Greek religion, Thanatos, not Thanos, is the twin of Hypnos, who's the god of sleep. So combined, if you get them, you have a nice gentle death. On the other side of it, Thanatos' sisters, the Caries, were blood-drinking, vengeful spirits. If they were around for your death, it was violent or untimely.
Ugh.
So, more bad women. Sure, Lilith would fit in pretty well here.
Aww.
So in Celtic religions, Enku was the portend of death. They were the spirit of the last person that died in that community, but they showed up as a tall, haggard figure with a really wide hat, long white hair, or they were a skeleton with a revolving head who sees everyone everywhere.
Ew.
Yeah. If they stopped at a cabin with their death wagon, that held a lot of corpses. That meant instant death for everybody inside.
That's why they brought the wagon.
Exactly. Gotta have somewhere to put those bodies. In Ireland, there was a creature called the Dullahan. They carried their head tucked under their arm.
Huh.
And they were an entire species, so not just a single Dullahan. There were lots of them.
A whole species of things carrying their heads?
Yes.
Ugh.
Not really somebody you want to run into in a dark alley.
That's horrible.
The head had large eyes and a smile that could reach the head's ears.
Ew.
I know. They rode a black horse, and they would stop at the house of someone who was going to die and call their name, and the person would immediately die. Now, the Dullahan doesn't like being watched, so they thought that if the Dullahan knew someone was watching them, they would lash that person's eyes with their whip. The whip was made of human spine. And they would also toss a basin of blood on the person.
Gross.
Super gross. And that meant the person was next to die, if they hadn't already figured it out.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, that seems like a pretty good indicator.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Death was one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So my interesting fact are the names of representations of death in different cultures that I found that were really fun.
Ah, excellent.
So we have the Destroyer, Angel of the Abyss,
Ooh.
Bone Man, Mo Man, like because of the scythe.
Mo Man?
Yes, Mo Man.
That's a terrible one.
It really is terrible. King of the Graveyard.
That sounds like a metal band, but like of nerds. We're the kings of the graveyard.
Plague Hag. Not very
I shouldn't laugh.
complimentary.
They're probably coming for me.
They are. Maybe the King of Karmic Justice is coming for you.
Okay, I like that one.
And my favorite from the Netherlands, Uncle Hendrik.
Sure, why not?
Why not Uncle Hendrik? Watch out.
Don't worry about him. That's just Uncle Hendrik.
Don't invite him to Thanksgiving.
It's gonna kill you later. It's fine.
Round 4. Rosanna, what is the next degree between the Grim Reaper and Octopus?
I did not hear any mention of rainbows this time.
Oh.
It actually went the complete other
It
direction.
really did, didn't it?
I didn't hear anything about water, sea life, nothing like that. So I'm going to go with apocalypse.
Did I say apocalypse?
Yeah, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Oh my gosh, I did.
Apparently that's not it. Well, I feel sheepish. Okay. Let me have another guess then, since you messed it up anyway.
Oh, okay.
All right, my second guess is the Afterlife.
The Afterlife. Okay, that's fair. Your guess is incorrect.
I had to try.
The next degree is Psychopomp.
It's what now?
Psychopomp.
Psychopomp?
Yes, Psychopomp.
When did you say Psychopomp?
It's one of the spirits that guides people to the afterlife. Let me tell you what a Psychopomp is.
Please? Yes.
It literally means guide of souls.
Guide of souls.
They're creatures or spirits, angels, even gods and goddesses in lots of different religions. And it's their job to escort newly dead people, or their souls, from Earth to the afterlife.
Huh, okay.
They don't judge the deceased, just guide them.
Right. Like, welcome to the afterlife. Grab a bottle of water. Go on the tour. I'll drop you off in either a comfy place or a very warm place.
Exactly. They show up a lot on funerary art. And psychopomps have often been anthropomorphized. Or pictured as animals like horses, deer, dogs, whippoorwills, ravens, crows, owls, sparrows, and cuckoos. So a lot of birds.
Yeah.
And when they are considered as birds, They're usually seen in really large groups, like waiting outside the home of the dying, like a murder of crows.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Some classical examples. We have Anubis, an ancient Egyptian god. The Greek ferryman Charon, who got you across the river Styx. And gods like Hermes and Hecate, Mercury, and the Etruscan deity called Vanth. Now, there was a form of Shiva in Hinduism who performed a pretty similar role for reincarnation, except she led the soul to moksha, which was the release from the cycle of death and rebirth, instead of an afterlife.
Huh.
Round 5. Rosanna, what is the next degree? What could it be?
You mentioned the river Styx.
I did.
The river is made out of water.
Yes, not Styx.
Ha ha ha. Octopuses live in water.
Yes.
So, my guess is the river Styx.
Oh, okay.
Somehow we have to get into water.
I guess that's
somehow
maybe true. Your guess of the river Styx is incorrect.
Aww.
The next degree is Whippoorwill.
I knew it was in that list. But it was a bunch of birds.
It was a bunch of birds. It's just really fun to say. Whippoorwill.
No, I know. I mean, I've met you. I know that should have been it.
So the whippoorwill, particularly the eastern whippoorwill, is a medium-sized bird from the nightjar family. They live in North America. And you can usually hear them within their territory, but you rarely see them because of their camouflage. And they are named onomatopoeically after their song.
Really?
Apparently it sounds kind of like whippoorwill. I listened to it. I didn't really hear it. Whippoorwill!
I was going to say, that doesn't sound like a bird at all, Nikki. You are really bad at bird sounds.
I tried. So the bird is sometimes confused with a similar sounding bird with a more ridiculous name called the Chuckwill's Widow. Chuckwill's Widow!
Chuckwill Widow!
Maybe that's what they sound like. I don't know. I don't know why they had to name them Chuckwill's Widow instead of actually giving Chuckwill's Widow a name.
Ugh, the patriarchy's at it again.
So the whippoorwill breeds in deciduous or mixed woods across Canada and the eastern U.S., and they nest on the ground, which is strange.
That is strange.
They show up a lot in literature and in music as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a Randy Travis song.
There's a New England legend that says the whippoorwill can actually sense a soul departing, and it can capture it as it flees.
Oh.
It's used as a plot device in the Dunwich Horror by H.P. Lovecraft. He probably got it from a woman who got it from a Native American. There was a general American folk belief that the singing of whippoorwills was a death omen.
Oh.
Round 6. All right, Rosanna, last guess for this episode. What's the degree between whippoorwill and octopus?
Well, something that I have learned about myself in the last couple of degrees is that I don't know very much about the octopus.
Oh, what do you know?
It has 8 legs. That's. I don't know if octopuses live in cold water or warm water.
It's mostly just restricted to salt water. They don't live in fresh water.
Okay, because my guesses were going to be Canada or like Central America, but I couldn't figure out cold water at Canada or warm water in Central America.
What are you going to do?
Well, I'd like you to tell me. How about this? I'll ask you one question and you answer it, and then I'll make my guess.
I can't guarantee I can answer the question.
Okay, north or south?
I don't understand how to answer that.
Okay, Siri. I'm gonna go with Canada.
Your guess of Canada is incorrect.
Is it both?
The next degree is camouflage.
So north and south doesn't matter.
Not at all.
Camouflage? Yeah, I mean, is this gonna be like an ink cloud kind of thing? I don't know anything about the octopus, apparently. Okay.
All right. Camouflage.
Just talk about camouflage.
There are 3 types of camouflage, and they have their own subcategories. But the 3 main types are crypsis, which is the use of any combination of materials, change in coloration, illumination for concealment, or just making an animal hard to see because it lives underground or is active only at night.
Huh, okay.
That's crypsis. There's mimesis. Mimesis is disguising yourself as something else. And my favorite, motion dazzle.
That sounds like the name of a band, too.
And this is when the camouflage confuses the observer with a conspicuous pattern. So it makes it visible, but it's harder to locate for a moment. We learned a little bit about this in our deception episode. Some examples of crypsis. You may notice that a lot of animals that live in trees are generally green or brown. And desert animals are almost all sand-colored, shades of beige. And in the open ocean, since there's no background, the methods of camouflage are transparency, like jellyfish, silvering, like sardines, countershading and counter-illumination. Also, changeable skin coloration, which is where squid and octopus can actually change their skin patterns and colors with chromatophore cells to look like their current background.
That sounds extremely high-tech for an ocean animal.
It does.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even touch what cuttlefish can do, which is just so far beyond that. And this one's pretty cool and a little spooky. Countershading. Have you ever wondered why sharks are dark on the top, usually dark gray, and they have white bellies?
Oh. I've not ever really thought about it, but now that you mention it, that totally makes sense.
So when you're underneath and you look up at a shark, its white belly blends in with the sun and with the sunlit water, but if you're above it, it looks dark like the dark water, and you can't see it.
Oh, those tricky animals.
Mimesis, another type of camouflage. It's really common in prey animals. So a caterpillar may look like a twig, a grasshopper may look like a dry leaf, generally things that you wouldn't give a second look to. And of course, my favorite, motion dazzle. That's when there are bold patterns of contrasting stripes, so zebras. It actually makes it really hard for predators to tell where an animal begins and ends when it's in a herd. And it makes it easier for them to escape. That is most effective at high speeds.
Yeah.
Interesting fact. So camouflage is a soft-tissued feature that's very rarely preserved on the fossil record.
Really? Huh.
But there are some skin samples from the Cretaceous period that show that marine reptiles were countershaded. So like leatherback turtles and mosasaurs.
Don't.
Which I know you love.
Don't talk about those. It makes my heart beat too fast. I'm afraid of whales.
Now our cheek of the week this week is going to be about camouflage. I'm going to be talking about Operation Bertram from World War II.
Oh, okay. Sounds like a snotty little English kid, but okay.
It does.
Bertram!
So first, let's learn more about octopuses.
All right, good idea, because I apparently don't know anything. Oh, no, I know they live in the water.
They have soft bodies, 8 arms. They're a mollusk of the order Octopoda. Did you know they have a sharp, hard beak, Rosanna?
What? No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they use their beaks to eat crab. They crunch them up.
I didn't know they ate crabs. I need to go back to school.
There are about 300 species, and they're in the class Cephalopoda with squids, cuttlefish, and nautiloids. Now, they have soft bodies that can very quickly alter their shape, which means that they can squeeze through really small gaps. And octopuses have the highest brain-to-body mass ratio of all invertebrates. Also, more than some vertebrates.
Yeah, wow.
They don't live a very long time, anywhere from 6 months to 5 years, usually around 3 years.
Oh, huh. I would have expected longer.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of ocean animals live a really long time.
It does.
Relatively.
Now, I'm going to tell you about the smallest octopus. It's the octopus wolfie, and it's around 1 inch long, and it weighs less than a gram, 0.035 ounces.
Aww.
So teeny tiny. I just want to hold one. Now for the scary part. The largest octopus.
I don't want to know.
It's the giant Pacific octopus. They usually weigh around 33 pounds, and their arm span is 14 feet long. Okay, Rosanna, guess the arm span and weight of the largest one ever recorded.
19 feet and 62 pounds.
30 feet arm span and 600 pounds.
Wait, no, what?
Yeah.
No! That's way too big.
I agree. So we've made it through all 6 degrees. We've gone from polytheism to goddess, to the Grim Reaper, to Psychopomp, to the Eastern Whippoorwill, to Camouflage, to Octopus. Rosanna, what did you think of this spiral today?
Well, I discovered that I don't know very much. Well, I didn't know very much about the octopus. I did like the list of different names for death. That was fun.
I liked putting that one together.
You gotta watch out for that guy.
It's time for Cheek of the Week. Our cheek this week is the story of Operation Bertram. So during World War II, they hired a bunch of artists, well, made them serve, and they worked on lots of camouflage. They also hired a filmmaker named Geoffrey Barkas. He was in charge of Operation Bertram, which was, I'm just going to say, genius. It was an amazing piece of strategy. Let me tell you the story. This operation made the Axis believe that there was going to be an attack far to the south, far from the coast and the railway. About 2 days later, then the actual attack happened. Here's how they did it. They put together this tank assembly area, and they put actual tanks there, but they disguised those tanks as trucks. And then they stacked boxes of food in the shape of more trucks under camo nets. And so this was all seen by reconnaissance planes, so all from above.
Oh.
So and they left the trucks, some other trucks parked openly for weeks. 2 nights before the attack, they moved the tanks and put the disguised trucks in their place and made it look like there were still days of work to do to finish assembling these tanks, and that they definitely wouldn't be ready to attack. Which was not true.
Oh.
To reinforce the impression that the attack wasn't ready to happen yet, they also built a fake water pipeline at a supposed rate of 5 miles a day. They made fake pump houses, overhead tanks, and filling stations. They even put in straw men. And they used real trucks to drive nearby to make tracks, so it looked like they were actually moving things around.
Wow.
It gets even better. Then came the double bluff, where a week before the attack, they created 3.5 fake field regiments of artillery. So big guns. Completely fake. And they were first made to look like they were actually camouflaged. And day by day, they were maintained less and less well.
Oh!
So the enemy figured out that they were dummy guns. When the real battle was about to begin, they switched out the dummy guns at night with real artillery.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Which they didn't move for an entire day. And so the Axis tank attack was very surprised to be fired on by actual guns because they thought they had figured out that there were real guns there.
That's awesome. I mean, somebody was definitely thinking, like, outside the box.
Yes,
to come
so
up with
smart.
This fake out. Wow, that's cool.
Just amazing strategy. So they attacked the Germans when they didn't expect it and where they didn't expect it, and they won. It was pretty amazing. I would love to see a movie of this from both perspectives.
That's our episode.
Tune in next time for another 6 Degrees of Wiki. You can keep up with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6 Degrees of Wiki.
If you enjoyed this podcast, you can support the show by leaving a review, buying 6 Degrees of Wiki merch like t-shirts, mugs, and bags, or even by donating directly to the show at 6degreesofwiki.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.